Just a quick update, the Patreon page is now live. The link will be down below if you want to check it out. You'll have access to all of my betting packages and much more. Thanks again for all the support. Let's get into the video. Yo, what's up guys? So we're back. It's after UFC 264. It was a pretty wild card. We actually hit the parlay of the week. We did pretty decent on the picks overall. Had a couple underdogs that didn't come through, but overall I thought we did pretty good on there. So we're going to be looking to bring that momentum into this week. This week we have a more lopsided main event in terms of the odds, but I actually think it's a pretty cool matchup. But before we get started in terms of breaking down the fights, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsors for this video. First, we have EquitySportsAnalytics.com. They have a free trial for 4-day free trial going on right now, and they have the $25 unit loss dividend promotion over a 2-week period. So essentially you guys have a little bit of time to check it out, see if you like it, and they do really good picks, for all sports. They're very good at showing everything very transparent, and they have great numbers as well. They haven't actually had to pay someone out since May 13th for their dividend program, so that means they've been making money for their clients, and that's obviously the goal for everyone. So make sure to check out Equity Sports Analytics. Friends don't let friends gamble without math, and they're definitely one of the best out there. So EquitySportsAnalytics.com, definitely recommend them, and definitely think you should check them out. And then up next we have the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. Those guys over there, they do a great job. Really enjoying doing this tournament, $100 tournament. So if you guys want to get involved, anyone can get involved, have a chance to win $100. All you have to do is just click that link in the description that has the Get Fanatics app link, join the group, and if you're in first place at the end of the year, you'll be the one winning the $100. So make sure to get involved and do that, get your chance to win. And essentially it's just they actually have Bellator and a lot of other events as well, but we're just doing UFC solely for this group. But you just go on their website or their app if you want to do it either way, and you just select your picks. You do it off the Vegas odds, so you can kind of get an idea if you were going to have a good betting night or not that night. And if you want to pick the method of which the person wins, then you get some extra bonus points. And the winner at the end of the year or at the end of the day, is it's something fun to have along with the fights. So I've enjoyed it. We have a chat in there where people talk, and it's been pretty fun. So make sure to sign up, get involved in the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. You can get it on the App Store, or you can go on the website and do it through there. And they do a great job. So I really recommend that, and been having a lot of fun doing that this year. So getting into the fight card now. With the first fight of the night, we got Rodrigo Nascimento taking on Alan Baudot. And, it's a heavyweight fight, kind of low-level fight. Rodrigo Nascimento, he actually had his first loss last year. It was in pretty violent fashion as well. He's a pretty big favorite against Chris Daukaus, but got knocked out in the first round. Chris Daukaus has proven to be a pretty decent prospect. And as far as Brazilian heavyweights go, I would say Nascimento is still one of the better guys around. And in the UFC, they're trying to give him a winnable fight here and probably try to, reach that market a little bit more. But Nascimento, he's a big guy. He weighs in at the heavyweight limit, 265, and more kind of slow. And I feel like he's going to be at a huge speed disadvantage in this fight on the feet. He's vulnerable in a lot of exchanges, but he has good pressure. He has heavy kicks. He throws hard low kicks. He actually has some pretty good, body kicks, high kicks as well. And he does have a little bit of a tendency to go to the well with the kicks. He'll throw naked kicks at times, and that does get him countered, but his hands are actually improving. He keeps it pretty basic with his boxing combinations, but he has some power. He can explode in with some deceptive speed, and he has a good reach for the division as well. So overall, I feel like his striking does have room for improvement, and it is getting better. In this fight, he just needs to kind of keep that, guard high, try to close the distance with his kicks, and be very kind of basic, try to get it to the ground, because I do feel like he's going to be at a disadvantage on the feet. We saw in this fight with Chris Daukaus. Daukaus landed a big left hook to the chin, crumbled Rodrigo, and Nascimento was able to work back up to his feet before getting finished against the cage, but definitely took a lot of damage in that fight. In all his fights, if he can get it to the ground, that's where he's going to be the most effective. He's a black belt. He's one of the better jiu-jitsu guys in the division, and he's already pretty big, like I said. And his wrestling isn't the best, but he will back guys up to the cage, uses weight in the clinch to kind of try to find the takedown. And when he can get on top, he has good control. he does a good job of landing short shots, peppering guys, wearing them down, then going for the submission. Good arm triangles, good back takes. He does have a couple rear naked chokes, and his back take to rear naked choke against Untitled Moises was pretty impressive because it was very fast for a big guy. Cardio-wise is a little bit of an unknown. He's never been to the third round in any of his fights, and only 3 of his 9 fights have gone out of the first round. So usually he goes in there, gets the job done pretty quickly. His opponent, Alain Baudot, this is his second UFC outing, and it can't go any worse than his first. He got thrown in there on short notice against Tom Aspinall his last time out and got knocked out in less than 2 minutes. But Baudot's another one of these heavyweights coming out of the MMA factory, which has produced Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane. But, this may be the worst guy out of the bunch. Baudot, very padded record. Most of his fights were also at 205 pounds. But he has a good style for heavyweight, or kind of an interesting style. He brings that similar quickness and movement to Cyril Gane, and he's long, he's 6'3", he has an 80-inch reach, and good in and out movement. He has fast hands, good kicks, and if he could be a little bit more composed, keep it basic, he would be a much better fighter because his feints are good. He can control the distance with his speed. He has a good jab. He has good straight shots. He has nice low kicks, good front kicks up the middle. He could probably control range, land pretty nice counters. His fighters try to get on the inside, not get hit too much. And against most heavyweights, kept it basic, brought his cardio level up. I think that he could be pretty effective. But the issue is he gets very wild. He'll just let go with these spinning back fists, spinning back elbows, flying attacks, rolling thunders, just very low percentage moves. And it could lead to him just ending up in bad positions. He was winning the fight against Todd Stout at TKO 47 on the feet pretty easily, in my opinion. But near the end of the second round, he went for a rolling thunder, put him on his back, and he got battered on the ground, which led to him being, worse for wear and finished in the third round. In this fight, he is going to be the far superior striker, but I just don't know if he's going to have the cardio to keep up that movement that he does, especially at heavyweight. And I don't know if he's going to be able to take the power either. We've seen guys like Daucha Lungiambula knock him out, and just his fight IQ isn't there at times. He is a very dangerous guy, though. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he lands one of those spinning elbows and knocks out Rodrigo Nascimento in the first round. I mean, he has the possibility of doing that. 7 knockouts of his own, and he's a former judo guy. He's solid in the clinch, and he has, like I said, those dangerous elbows and close exchanges. His judo throws and his level changes are pretty decent, but I doubt he's going to look to wrestle. He also tends to get tired in grappling heavy fights, even against 205-pound guys. He's not really the most physically strong guy. And against a big, strong grappler, Nascimento, I don't think he wants to be clinching, going strength for strength. And his takedown defense, in the clinch, like I said, is okay, but on the legs, it's not very good. And off his back, he just doesn't look good at all. I've seen him against Todd Stout get mounted, hit with some really big shots, give his back. I've seen against Tom Aspinall, he got finished with ground and pound, and it's just a hole in his game. He definitely has to patch up, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it in that shorter period of time. So he's going to have to keep it on the feet in this one, and go for that knockout early probably. But this is a volatile fight in my opinion, because Alain Baudot, like I said, is going to have a chance in round 1 to get the knockout, and he may make it look easy. I could also see him stuffing a couple takedowns, or at least staying on the feet, even if he's controlled against the cage early on. But as the fight goes on, and I'm not talking about a long time, I think just like a couple minutes, I think Nascimento is going to be able to get Baudot on his back, and he's probably going to be able to really have his way with him. I just feel like Nascimento's way higher level on the ground, and probably he's going to be able to get the finish off of one takedown. Baudot could get a highlight reel knockout because, like I said, Nascimento's still a little green in the striking, can be a little bit plotty, and on the inside, Baudot could maybe make something happen with spinning elbow, one of those elbows, but I think more often than not, Nascimento's going to be able to hit that takedown in the first round and probably get the submission. So I think Nascimento's going to get the win here. I think that the under and fight doesn't go to decision are probably pretty good plays for this fight. I think it's probably going to end in the first round. In this next one, we're going from heavyweight to flyweight. So we got the 2 flyweights in here. Francisco Figueredo taking on Malcolm Gordon. And Figueredo needs to get the win for his family name after that rough outing for Davison his last time out. But, he has a lot to live up to. Obviously, Davison Figueredo made it all the way to UFC champion. But so far, so good for Figueredo. He won his first UFC fight earlier this year. He obviously didn't look great, and he was in there with good, favorable matchup in Jerome Rivera. And now he's going in there with another fighter in Malcolm Gordon, who's 0-2 and has been knocked out in his first 2 UFC fights. So I think that obviously the UFC wants Francisco to get up there in the rankings and kind of have that brother-brother dynamic that they could sell a little bit. But Malcolm Gordon, he's a fighter who actually had a good amount of success outside the UFC. He has a strong skill set, but just been nothing short of disappointing. He's had to fight 2 tough prospects in Amir Albazi and Sue Midarji, but he's looked like he didn't belong in there, and he's getting one final chance to get a win, save his job. And this is a kind of a fight that I feel like Figueredo is going to be, he's obviously a huge favorite. I don't think many people are going to be picking Malcolm Gordon, and it's just tough to pick Gordon because of how he's looked in recent, times. But I do feel like Figueredo, he kind of just looks for that left cross, and he's more of a grappler. And in this fight, I don't really know if he's going to want to take down a guy like Malcolm Gordon, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, who is pretty tricky off his back, good sweeps, good submissions. And also, early on in the fights, Gordon's kind of one of these guys that's a glass cannon type of guy because he's dangerous. I mean, he has good pull counters, good hand speed. He could switch stances mid-combination, touch you. He has power. So he's going to be able to potentially maybe land something big on Figueredo too. But just his reactions to getting hit are not very good at all. I feel like Figueredo throws nice straight shots down the pipe. He has good power. And I just see Figueredo probably touching Malcolm Gordon early, hurting him and taking him out, just like the last 2 guys have, because I just don't know if Gordon has that durability anymore, especially after just getting finished 2 times in a row. You even see on the regional scene he gets hit a lot early and gets rocked before coming back in some wins, and definitely is maybe a guy that just doesn't really have a good chin or just starts really slow, can't take shots early. But whatever it is, I just feel like the safer bet is Figueredo. I think that he's probably going to be able to go in there and probably get another first-round KO on Malcolm Gordon. Gordon's one of these guys that's kind of a kill or be killed type of guy, so I think that it's probably going to end inside the distance irregardless. Malcolm Gordon could get a submission if Figueredo gets the takedown. He could maybe hurt him on the feet. I think that's a little bit more unlikely, but I think the most likely outcome is probably Figueredo goes out here, touches him with one of those left crosses early, has Gordon a little bit hurt, and then finishes him off. So I'm going to go with Francisco Figueredo to come in here, have a good performance, kind of, prove why he's a -310 favorite, and, actually kind of redeem himself from that kind of subpar, lackluster performance in his UFC debut. And this next one should be a good fight. Anytime Anderson dos Santos is in there, it's probably going to be pretty entertaining, So Miles Johns, he, reminded everyone why he's a big-time prospect in his last fight. He knocked out Kevin Natividad with a pretty vicious uppercut, one-punch knockout. But getting another win here, getting 2 in a row, could kind of go a long way and reestablish yourself as a fighter to watch at 135. Anderson dos Santos, he's going to be looking to make it 2 upsets in a row, build off that first-round submission he had late last year against Martin Day. And he's a veteran. He's definitely on the older side at 35. But he still proved in his last fight that he's dangerous. He has some good wins along the way, and you can never doubt this guy's, heart and just will to win. Anderson dos Santos, he's a dog in there. He's one of these guys that goes in there. He pressures forward. He actually has a pretty good striking game, in my opinion. I think his striking is a little bit underrated because he goes for it. He throws some nice straight punches. He has pretty good hand speed, and he has good power on that right cross. So, he is kind of a punching bag. His defense is not very good. He will load up on a lot of shots at times and be a little bit wild. But when he actually throws straight and, throws those crosses, when he counters, when he goes first with them, he can look a little bit dangerous with those. And, that's what I think he needs to be a little bit sharper, not be as wild, use a little bit more composure and try to be like more of a sniper against Miles Johns. Still bring the pressure, still let the combos and the combinations off, or the combos and the volume, but I just feel like just try to keep it more straight, not as looping. If you're Anderson, maybe try to holster the kicks in this one, because sometimes he throws real deliberate kicks, and I feel like John's just going to take him down off of that. Anderson dos Santos, he is a black belt. He does have a good jiu-jitsu game, obviously, but I feel like off of his back, if you can avoid that guillotine, which his guillotine is nothing to play with. I mean, that he definitely has a very, very good guillotine, so Miles Johns has to be very aware of that. But if you could actually take him down, put him on his back, I feel like he's not the best there. I think Miles Johns would easily be able to control him and kind of dominate the position. I also feel like cardio-wise, Miles Johns, I think his cardio, problems are a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to say they're like overblown because he has gotten tired in multiple fights. But I don't know what it was in that Richie Santiago fight, why he was so fatigued. But I don't think Anderson is going to make him work that hard with the stand-ups and, submission game off his back. And I also feel like Miles, his cardio has looked a lot better in different fights, so that may have just been, a bad night for him or something. So on the feet, Miles Johns, he's one of these guys that has a nice high guard. He has a really good jab, and he has a big power in that right hand. So he just tries to use his jab, use that big overhand right, straight right, to set up his takedowns. He's a, college wrestler. He has a nice top game, and that's kind of his game, So I feel like he has a good style to beat Anderson dos Santos because he doesn't really take a lot of risks. He's not going to open up, give Anderson a lot of opportunities. His jab is going to be popping, I feel like, and really be effective. His right hand, you can't really take that many right hands from Miles Johns. Like Anderson is eating these right hands from a lot of other guys. So I feel like Miles Johns is going to have a chance to hurt him as well. And I do feel like if Johns just can avoid that guillotine on the takedowns, when he gets on top, he's going to be able to settle and really, land some good ground and pound, have some nice top control time. And I feel like Miles Johns is, also just going to be the superior athlete in there. So he could probably dictate the pace a little bit. But the only thing is Miles Johns just, if he gets hit, he has to show composure. He can't just shoot in naked takedown and, get submitted. And also, he needs to kind of just be smart in the way that he enters, obviously, to avoid the guillotine. And also, just don't get a lot of exchanges. That's where Miles Johns looks a little bit, like he doesn't have a lot of confidence is in exchanges. So Anderson is definitely going to want to try to force him into these brawls. And Johns needs to have good fight IQ. Even if he's a little bit tired, he can't accept just brawling with the guy. Even if he has success, drops him with the right hand. It's just not the right thing to do. He needs to, keep it long, use his jab, use that overhand right when he sees it, hit the takedowns, control on top, and just win. That needs to be the mindset, not to go in there and, entertain with Anderson. Just go in there and look for the victory. So if he does that, I think Miles Johns is going to go out there and get the win, and I am going to pick Miles Johns to win this fight. In this next one, we got a pretty high-level fight here with Khalid Taha taking on Sergey Morzov. And Khalid Taha, he's had kind of a strange UFC career. It's been anything but easy. He's had a super tough schedule. His UFC debut, he went up a weight class, short notice, took on Nadnir Amani, who's a pretty solid fighter, and he was able to beat Taha by decision. Taha did have a really good second UFC fight. He knocked out Boston Salmon in 25 seconds. That's technically his only UFC win, but he did, pop for performance enhancers in that fight, and it was turned into a no contest. That was his only UFC win, the Boston Salmon one, and then he had a fight against Bruno Silva where he, performed well, dropped him a couple times, eventually submitted him in the third round, and that fight was the one that was turned into a no contest. Also, Bruno Silva is obviously a very good flyweight, but he's a flyweight. That fight was at 135. Taha was on performance enhancers, and he also missed weight. He weighed in at 137, so he had a lot of advantages in that fight, and he was able to get the win there. But after a year off, he went in there and he took on Raoni Barcelos. They kind of threw him into the deep end of the division, and he performed admirably, but he took a lot of damage. He dropped a decision, and Khalid Taha, he's a pressure fighter. He has heavy kicks, he has power punches, really nice straight right, left hook combinations, and in the pocket, he's super dangerous. He has fast hand speed, very durable, throws really tight, sharp shots, and Sergey Morzov does not want to be in the pocket with a guy like Khalid Taha because kind of keeps his chin out there, hands are a little bit low, kind of has that bouncing style, and I feel like Taha is going to be able to exploit that if they get into any type of long exchanges. But Taha, he really just, that's his game. He has 9 knockouts. He's a very explosive, powerful striker. I feel like his kicks are good. He'll throw really hard kicks to all parts of the body, good front kicks up the middle. But he can get himself in trouble with his kicks because he loads up all his kicks. He can get countered. He can get taken down off the kicks. And he doesn't check low kicks himself. So we saw Raoni Barcelos really get off with some nice leg kicks, really beat up the lead leg of Khalid Taha. And what Taha showed in that Barcelos fight, though, is that he's always dangerous. Even if he's getting outclassed, you have to stay turned on against him. He can make you pay. And he took a ton of damage in that fight, and he just kept coming forward. And, against a power striker like Morzov, though, it may kind of come to roost here. He could maybe get finished, who knows. But Khalid Taha, his takedown defense is not the best. He was taken down controlled by Nad Narimani. Narimani was able to time takedowns off his kicks and get him down pretty easily. And Taha off his back isn't a submission threat. I do think Morozov would be able to have some success controlling Taha on the ground. Narimani had a lot of success against Taha, controlling him. Even Bruno Silva, who, like I said, is a natural flyweight, was able to hit a takedown on Taha and control him for the entire second round. Had good success with ground and pound, and he was able to get a takedown once again at the start of the third round and looked like he might have been able to steal the fight, but Taha showed good urgency. He was able to get back up to his feet in that one, and eventually he stuffed a couple of Bruno's takedowns and some big ground and pound that hurt Bruno and locked in that submission. So, like I said, he definitely has good cardio, good heart, and he was taken down by Barcelos as well, but he was able to show good scrambling ability and was able to get back up to his feet. His grappling is definitely his weak point overall, but he's improving his scrambling. If you give him space, he's probably going to be able to get back up. When he stands back up, he's good at, putting the pressure right on guys, trying to break them. And he's only been submitted one time, so definitely is a hard guy to get out of there. He's a really solid fighter. Sergey Morzov, this is going to be his second UFC appearance. He debuted on Fight Island, and he had a rough transition. He was tasked with facing Umar Nurmagomedov, lost via submission, but he's an accomplished fighter. He's been a former M1 champion. His only loss in recent years, in the last 5 years, are to Umar Nurmagomedov and Movsar Evloev. And he's a striker. He likes to stay light on his feet, use lateral movement, look for his right hand. He can be low volume, but he's accurate with his straight right hand, body head. His jab is pretty good. He has a good left hook as well. And he has power in both hands. And in exchanges, he will work head movement. And, he will look for counters. So he's dangerous in exchanges himself, but I feel like he's going to be a little bit vulnerable there against a really sharp guy like Taha. Morozov does have some decent kicks to the body. His kicks are a little bit stiff as well, similar to Taha. But Morozov has 8 knockouts, and he has been finished by strikes just one time. So very durable guy, is a power guy himself. And he's well-rounded. He has fights where he wins fights through wrestling. He is the most active wrestler in a lot of fights, but in this fight I think he has to wrestle to be successful. He has a good double leg, and when he gets on top, he's more about control, ground and pound. He does a good job of taking the back, and he likes that wrestling right position. He'll break fighters down from there. In this fight, I think if he's going to win, he's going to spend a lot of time in that position. He can be taken down himself, and he does have a tendency to give his back in bad positions, and he has been submitted 3 times by a rear naked choke, so that's something that you do kind of have to look into, but I don't think Taha is going to be trying to take his back, look for takedowns. And Morozov does have good scrambling ability. He has a good sprawl. He will work that front headlock if guys shooting on him, and he can sprawl, circle to the back. And he has great cardio, heart. He can battle through adversity himself. So he definitely is a guy that I feel like can get wins in the UFC. And I feel like this should be, the odds should be a little bit closer in this fight. Taha is the better striker, and if they were to be having a kickboxing match, he's more explosive. He throws nice combinations. He's better in the pocket. I think his defense is a little better. Morzov probably isn't quite as fast, but this isn't a kickboxing match. He's going to be level changing. He's going to be giving Taha other things to worry about, and I just think that style that Taha has with loading up on his punches, his kicks, are going to give openings for the takedown, for the level change. And Morzov, after he gets a few takedowns, even if he can't control on top for the whole round, I think it's going to open up his striking a little bit, and he definitely has power. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if after seeing Taha take all that punishment against Barcelos, that his chin is a little bit weak here. But I think more than likely it's going to be the takedowns and control of Morzov if he is to win this fight. The striking favors Taha, but I think the all-around MMA game favors Morzov, and I'm going to go with Morzov to be able to mix it up, hit some takedowns, and get the victory here. In this next one, we got Amanda Lemos. She's going to be making a return to the octagon, taking on Montserrat Ruiz. And Amanda Lemos, I remember back in the day when she fought Hannah Granger, she was like a plus 300 underdog. She was moving down from 135 to 115. And, I said she kind of reminded me of Amanda Nunes. And, a lot of people were telling me I was crazy. And maybe it was a little bit crazy to say that. It is a little bit crazy to say that, obviously. But she's went out there, got 2 first-round finishes in her last 3 fights at 115, 3-0, got a big knockout in her last win, and is looking great. And for Montserrat Ruiz, she went in there short notice, took on Cheyenne Bays, which I believe is a girl that the UFC wanted to get the victory. Obviously, they had her and JP on the same card, and Cheyenne, they were trying to push her a little bit with, marketing and, media packages and stuff like that. So, Ruiz went in there and got the big upset victory. It was a very boring fight where she kind of just used the head and arm throw, controlled from that scarf hold position the whole fight. Didn't let much offense go, but was able to just dominate that one way because Cheyenne Bays just could not stop that move. But, Amanda Lemos, I think the UFC probably said, let's get someone in there that's going to go in there and be able to really put it on a girl like Montserrat Ruiz because Amanda Lemos is a beast, man. I don't see her getting head and arm thrown by a girl like Montserrat Ruiz. I think that, she's going to be able to keep it on the feet where she has really good hands, good hand speed. She puts her combinations together. Heavy round kicks to the body, heavy front kicks up the middle, head kicks, spinning kick. And these girls just have shown at 115 that they can't really handle the power that Lemos has. But I will say in the pocket, she is a little bit bad with their defense, and Montserrat Ruiz is a gamer, man. She's a Mexican. She comes in, she will close that distance and bang with you. And I don't know if she's gonna be able to take the shots that Amanda Lemos throws because she was taking all the shots that Cheyenne Bays throws right on the chin, eating them, and I don't think that's gonna fly against a girl like Lemos. I think you'll probably get hurt pretty badly. And but like I said, Ruiz will go for it, and she will get in that pocket and trade a little bit with Lemos, so Lemos has to be a little bit careful. I don't really think Ruiz has the power to hurt her too badly, though. So, Amanda Lemos, she's 34 years old. I don't know how long she's going to be able to, keep it going or how far she's going to be able to bring it. But I think this level of fighter, Montserrat Ruiz, where, it's pretty basic what you have to do to stop her. Just stop that head and arm throw, and you're probably going to win the fight. I think she's going to be able to do that very easily. Probably get a finish here. So, minus 500, the odds are not very good, obviously. But I think she's going to be able to go in there and show why she's a minus 500 favorite and probably look every bit of it. In another prelim fight here, we got kind of a sleeper fight here, in my opinion, with Daniel Rodriguez taking on Preston Parsons. Obviously, everyone kind of knows about Daniel Rodriguez by now. He picked up his 4th UFC win, probably collected the biggest scalp of his career as he dominated Mike Perry. And he's already proven to be, borderline, if not top 15 welterweight, because he's not only defeated Mike Perry, but he also defeated Tim Means, Dwight Grant, and his loss against Nicholas Dalby, which was his only loss in the UFC, was a bit of a controversial loss there. So Rodriguez has improved a lot since joining the UFC, not only with his skill set, but his physique, his athleticism, his cardio. Everything about him has improved, and he's a slick southpaw. He's improved his hand speed. He really throws sharp, tight punches, really good jab, big power in that left hand, right hook, and he throws hard low kicks, kind of has stinging power. He doesn't really throw for knockouts. He keeps it sharp and loose and lets off a ton of volume. Good feints, good counters. On the inside, he's durable. He has good inside boxing. And he did struggle a little bit with that in-and-out kicking style of Nicholas Dalby. And those are the type of fighters, along with the wrestlers, or big power guys, because he is a little bit hittable, that are going to give Rodriguez issues. But Rodriguez is always live for a knockout. He's very durable. You can never count him out. Just look at that fight with him and Dwight Grant. He has 6 knockouts in his career, and Daniel Rodriguez isn't really a grappler in MMA, but he will mix it up if he's losing the striking. His takedown defense is average. He isn't really the most physical guy or the best wrestler, but he does look to have improved it a bit against Mike Perry. He was able to stuff a few of Perry's takedowns. He tends to attack guillotines as opposed to defending takedowns in a lot of fights, though. And that does put him on his back, where he does have a good 10th planet jiu-jitsu style. He stays safe. He gets his feet on the hips, works back up to his feet. His get-up game against the cage is pretty good. And this fight's going to be a good test for Rodriguez because it's the first time he's faced a wrestler in the UFC. Rodriguez has been taken down by Tim Means, Gabe Green, and Mike Perry, but he's also been able to win all 3 of those fights. So he's shown a good ability to, even if he gets taken down, to work back up to his feet and get the win. And he was also able to hit that standing guillotine against Tim Means. He has 4 submissions. He's never been finished in his career. So overall, he's just a pretty well-rounded fighter who's improving athletically, and his skill set is improving as well. So he's someone that you definitely have to look out for. But Preston Parsons, he's up against it here a little bit. He's jumping on short notice against a tough opponent, but he's a guy that I was pretty impressed with. He's 9-2 in his career. He's riding a 4-fight win streak, and he's competed primarily on the Florida regional scene, and he's fought the likes of guys like Mike Perry, Ignacio Bahamondes, David Mundell, and even Socrates Pierre, who's a decent regional scene fighter, and he's been able to defeat 3 of those 4 guys. The one loss was against Mike Perry, and even in that fight against Mike Perry, it was in 2015, and he was actually doing fairly well in that fight before he got caught. More recently, though, Parsons has been fighting a lot of lower-level opponents, but I don't think he's a bad replacement because he's a strong grappler, he has good fight IQ, and his striking is pretty good. It's improved a ton since he returned to MMA in 2019. His last performance, albeit against a lower-level opponent in Jeff Peterson, his striking looked great. It was, a bit stiff in the past. He would load up on a lot of his shots, but his footwork, his speed, his shot selection looked a lot better in that fight. And, he has a lot of nice straight punches. He'll throw some nice kicks as well. Good 3-2s, good high kicks, good body kicks. He'll mix in elbows. He really puts the volume on guys. And thing is, his head movement is not really that good, so he's still hittable. He doesn't really check kicks, and he has been finished by strikes. I feel like that jab of Rodriguez is going to give Parsons a lot of issues. But Parsons, if he can back guys up, he'll throw the volume on. He really throws a lot of combinations. He has good power himself, so he's someone that you can't sleep on even on the feet. And he's a strong wrestler. He has a good jiu-jitsu game as well. Really good double leg. He's good with his body locks. He has good dirty boxing. And when he gets fights to the mat, he's very aggressive. He loves to take the back. He'll attack arm bars a lot from those positions. And that's something I don't really like to see because you're giving up position. But Parsons has a lot of armbar finishes, and he just earned another armbar victory on June 5th, so he just fought recently. Most of his wins are either armbars or rear naked chokes, and he's a finisher. He's never been in decision. He's only been out of the first round 2 times in his career. His last match and his fight with Valdir Rojo, in which he was guillotined in the second round. On Topology, they have that fight listed as any in the first round, but if you watch it, it was finished in the second. It is on Fight Pass, and Parsons' cardio should be good. In his last fight, he let off an unreal amount of volume in the first round, and he didn't look a little bit tired. He did look a little bit tired, I would say, I guess, in the second round, but, he was able to get the takedown, finish the fight pretty quickly he was taken down and was able to finish the fight pretty quickly with the armbar. I do feel like this is a big step up for him, and I actually think that he's a good prospect, though. He has limited experience, his striking is improving, and he's a strong grappler, but he needs to not strike nearly as much as he did in his last match in this fight. Not many fighters have tested the grappling of Daniel Rodriguez, and Parsons needs to use his speed, his superior athleticism early, close that gap, get Rodriguez against the cage, look to get the fight to the ground. If he can get on top, he is going to be aggressive and have a chance to finish. Sometimes his aggressiveness can lead him to losing position, but he's good off his back as well. And Daniel Rodriguez is going to want to control the center, work his leg kicks, work his jab, try to find his counters, get his rhythm, and if he can get his timing, he's going to probably be able to hurt Parsons as he tries to close that distance. Parsons is going to be coming in really hot, in my opinion. Maybe even get a takedown or 2, get into a good position against Rodriguez. But Rodriguez, I think, is a veteran. I think he's going to stay calm. I think he's going to be able to work back up to his feet or scramble into that top position, then go to work. Cardio-wise and being in a war is something Rodriguez has a lot more experience in, and he's been able to come back more than once as well. I also feel like Parsons at times does leave himself susceptible to a guillotine a little bit, which I already talked about is something that Daniel Rodriguez likes to go for. I do feel like Parsons is live here. He's a solid fighter to watch for the future. But having never been to a third round and the resume he has in terms of the competition, it's just tough to pick him here. I think Rodriguez is going to be able to get a front choke or maybe a KO TKO in the second or third round in this one. So I'm going to go with the veteran here, Daniel Rodriguez, to get it done. And to kick off the main card, we got a great fight, man. We got Mowgli Benitez taking on Billy Quarantillo. And Mowgli Benitez, he's one of those guys where, if you ask me who's a kind of an unsung guy in the UFC, not many people really talk about him, maybe not many people know, but I think is one of my favorite fighters, a guy I like to watch, and that's Gabriel Benitez, man. I'm a big fan of this guy. I really like his style. And Billy Q is another guy that brings it every time, so this is definitely going to be a great fight. And Billy Quarantillo, he's definitely going to have to rebound here. He had that 8-fight win streak snapped. He took that high-level competition step in December. He faced Gavin Tucker, who's a good fighter, and he fell short in a competitive unanimous decision loss. And he was actually expecting to face Herbert Burns here, but Burns pulled out, and now he's a totally different style matchup in Gabriel Benitez. Billy Q isn't the type of fighter to turn down a challenge, though, and he has had a little while to make a new game plan. And for Mowgli Benitez, 2021 is year 7 for Mowgli in the UFC, and he's shown no signs of slowing down. He's one of the better Mexican fighters on the UFC roster, and recently his performances have continued to improve. His last match, he did snap a 2-fight losing streak. He got a resounding first-round knockout against Justin James, but even in his 2 losses, he is very competitive against solid fighters up a weight class. So now he's going back to his division, 145, and the issue with Mowgli throughout his UFC career is that he's usually able to dominate non-UFC level competition, but when he takes that step up, he can't get the job done. He has to shed that label here, defeat Billy Q. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to because he's 33 years old, and if he's going to make that run towards the top 15, this is his time to do it. And this is a clash of striking styles. We have the favorite in Mowgli Benitez, who's a slick southpaw. He likes to work off the counter. He's facing a pressure fighter who doesn't really give opponents a lot of room to breathe in Billy Q. So Benitez is going to have his chances to work his counter game. Look for the counter straight left hand, the combinations on the inside. He has really nice cheeky combinations on the inside, and he has really good knees. That knee that he landed on Justin James was brutal. Also, something that they always talk about with Benitez is, the kicking game of Benitez is elite. He has some of the power kicks where he'll work the legs, work the body, and I feel like he's going to be looking for, those attacks, a lot of body attacks, a lot of leg attacks, and the counter straight left hand and those knees, uppercuts potentially. Just strikes that stop forward pressure because Quarantillo is going to be really looking to just come forward and press the action. I also think that that left high kick is going to potentially be there for Benitez if he could set it up with the body attack. Billy Q has been finished with the head kick in the past, but Benitez, he needs to avoid being backed up to the cage. His head movement has to be a little bit better, a little bit more on point to avoid that good jab of Billy Q. And Mowgli's wrestling defense has improved as well. He has a good guillotine threat. He has great cardio toughness. So it's going to be fun to see this fight if they decide to go to war, which is likely. But I do think that Billy Q could get the takedowns if he sets him up well. And I do feel like Billy Q is maybe the little bit more durable guy. Fighters that can get in the pocket and land clean have been able to hurt Benitez in the past. But Benitez cracks himself, and either fighter can get knocked out in this one. Billy Q, he's going to need to bring his usual style to the table here. Use his jab to get on the inside. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. And he likes to attack with a lot of 3-2s on the feet, long hooks, overhands. On the inside is where he's going to have the advantage in this matchup. Clinch up, work his dirty boxing, work his body-head combinations, try to keep the pace high. He also has the grappling advantage, and even though he isn't the greatest wrestler, if he could pressure, wear down Benitez a little bit in the clinch or with some big shots, I think the takedowns could come. On the feet, I think early on, Quarantillo, like usual, is going to get dinged around a little bit. But unlike opponents who defeated Quarantillo outside of his quick knockout loss, I don't see Benitez mixing it up and being able to hit takedowns. And due to that, I think Quarantillo is a pretty live underdog because he's more durable. He's going to be pressuring, jamming the kicks, the long punches of Benitez. He has the better inside striking game and grappling. I think the jab is going to be effective. And down the stretch, I think Quarantillo may be able to be the one that is wearing the damage better and able to keep the volume out there. So I feel like it's a decent fight. It's a guy, like I said, I really like in Gabriel Benitez. But I'm actually going to pick Billy Quarantillo to get the win here via decision or via maybe a third round or a late finish here. And up next on the main card, we got Rodolfo Vieira making his return, taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. And Rodolfo Vieira, man, he suffered his first MMA defeat, and it was a pretty inexplicable loss. You know, probably the most embarrassing fashion possible for himself. He's a jiu-jitsu legend, but he gassed out and he was submitted in shocking fashion. So Vieira, he was 7-0 before that, but that loss was a pretty bad look. He needs to rebound with a big performance here to maintain his job in the company, in my opinion. And Vieira is still green. He's been pro since 2017, and he's only been out of the first round 3 times. On the feet, he's still very much developing. He has decent distance control. He has a good jab, but that's about it. He's just looking to maintain that range, work his jab when he can, feint, try to time the level change. He doesn't move his head at all. He's very stiff. If he can't get the takedowns, he's not going to be able to last 15 minutes versus a UFC level guy. And he did show an amazing chin in his last fight, though. He's able to absorb a massive amount of punishment. That could also be to his detriment as well, as we have to monitor his chin moving forward. But Rodolfo Vieira is obviously an animal on the mat. His grappling is super legit when he's fresh. And if he gets on top early, he's going to submit most guys. He has pretty good wrestling for a jiu-jitsu guy as well. He's pretty explosive. He'll work his singles, his doubles. He's huge for the division. He's super strong, so that helps him get takedowns as well. And when he gets on top, he's a monster. He has really good pressure. He has really good passing ability. He'll sit heavy in half guard, land short shots, chip away. He has a good arm triangle. He's good at turking the legs and moving in a mount, and he has good ground and pound from there. He has good back takes. He has a number of rear naked choke victories. All but one of Vieira's wins have came via submission, and all 7 of his wins have came on the ground. He's never been a decision. In Vieira's last fight, he went for an armbar from mount, which lost him the position and kind of swung the momentum heavily into Hernandez's favor. It seemed after Hernandez was able to escape back up, get back up to his feet, Vieira just had nothing left, and Hernandez teed off on him. He was able to threaten with his own submission, stuff the sloppy takedowns of Vieira, and in the second round, Vieira was just physically exhausted, shot a really bad takedown, and got submitted. It was a really shocking result, and I'm sure he's trying to do everything in his power to, have that not happen again, be better prepared cardio-wise. I'm not sure if it was the weight cut, but he has to get it addressed. And his opponent, Dustin Stoltzfus, he also lost his UFC debut. In his last fight, he had a 10-fight winning streak snapped, and he went in there with a tough top 30 guy in Khalid, and he had his moments, but he lost in a pretty one-sided decision. He has a chance to get a marquee win here and make a name for himself, though, and he's a grappler, but he's definitely more well-rounded than Vieira. He's southpaw. He has some aggressive Muay Thai style. He'll work his opponent's legs with hard low kicks inside-outside. His money punch is his left hook, and he's always looking to counter with it. He'll also switch stances and throw that left hook as a lead attack as well. He has good power with this straight left hand. And he will look for the rear uppercut. He'll look for the to mix in his right hooks as well. He's willing to brawl in the pocket, and that's what he's going to probably try to goad Vieira into doing here. Stoltzfus, he has a pretty good kicking game. He has some nice round kicks, body kicks, head kicks, and he mixes in some front kicks and spinning kicks as well. But he can be a little bit deliberate with his kicks. Sometimes he'll throw his kicks without setting him up, and he throws almost everything 100%, so when he connects his opponent, feel it, and he has big power. He really breaks down guys as the fight goes on, and he has good durability, good cardio as well. He'll pressure for the entire fight. He's never been finished by strikes, and he's an opportunistic submission guy. He's one of those fighters that doesn't really look for takedowns, but his opponents with but he breaks his opponents with pressure. He lands that shot that hurts them or just gets them to shoot their fatigue, and then he submits them. And he has a decent clinch takedowns, but in this fight, I don't think he's going to be looking for many takedowns, obviously. His takedown defense doesn't look very good. He can get taken down pretty easily. He was controlled for 8 out of the 15 minutes on the ground against Khalid, but off his back, he will attack from his guard with elbows. His submission game is pretty solid. He has good leg locks. He has 5 submissions overall. He has a twister, so he knows what he's doing down there, and he's going to have the striking experience and cardio advantage in this fight against Vieira. This one's kind of a tough fight to call because of how bad Vieira looked in his last fight. I do think he's the rightful favorite here because Stoltzfus has that flat-footed Muay Thai style where he isn't going to be hard for Vieira to find the takedown against. But I think Vieira, if he can't get that finish early, it's always a question mark. But, I mean, he's going to be able to get the takedown pretty easily in the first round, I believe. And he's the fighter with the better in-and-out movement, faster, more explosive. And when he gets the fight to the ground, he has to think about position before submission, staying on top, unlike that mistake he made in his last fight. Stoltzfus has never been finished, and, he knows what he's doing on the ground. So don't blow your energy going all out for a quick submission or, losing position, going for an armbar from mount. If they're extended periods of time striking, then Stoltzfus is going to have a huge advantage to get the finish. But I think Vieira is going to be embarrassed about his last fight. I think he's going to go in there and be able to get the takedown against a pretty favorable stylistic matchup for himself. And I see him being able to get the submission in this one. So I'm going to side with Rodolfo Vieira. But at that price tag, I do think there's some value on the underdog and Dustin Stoltzfus in this one. But my pick is going to be Rodolfo Vieira. In this next fight, we got an interesting matchup here with Mateusz Gamrot taking on Jeremy Stephens. Mateusz Gamrot, I mean, he had a rough entry into the UFC, lost to Guram Kudaladzhi, or Gura Ladzi. But, in his last fight, he went in there and got a resounding finish against Scott Holtzman, knocked him out, and he's 18-1. He's getting a big-time opponent here in Jeremy Stephens, and beating Jeremy Stephens means something, man. It means you probably get a top 10 matchup next. Jeremy Stephens may be maligned for having the most losses in UFC history, but also all of his losses are mostly to top. Almost all of his losses are to top 15 competition. And if you aren't on that level, Jeremy could take you out brutally. And he's back. He's looking to finally get in the cage. He hasn't fought in over a year, Stephens, and his last matchup was scrapped on fight day, obviously after the whole shoving incident with Jakar Close, and he made some big changes for this fight. He's winless in his last 5, so he decided to move back up to 155 pounds for the first time since 2012. And I feel like he also sounds like he's in a good place mentally. He's gone sober apparently, and it seems like he has a lot of confidence. He's ready to go here. But this is a really tough matchup, man, against a really big grappler in Mateusz Gamrot, who I believe is on the feet, not really going to engage with Jeremy Stephens like that. He's one of these guys that has kind of that economical style. He uses the jab. He works his long strikes, his kicks, and looks for that single leg takedown. When he gets on top, he has really good control. I do think that Stephens is the better striker. I think that Stephens is going to be looking to pressure, try to, force, longer combinations, land that big kill shot, try to draw out the takedown so he can, time a knee, time an uppercut. I think he's going to be working the low kicks. And he's definitely going to be live because I feel like Gamrot, even though he looked good with the striking in his last fight, I'm not sure he's going to be so comfortable exchanging with a guy like Stephens, and I think he's going to be a little bit slower. I also think the leg kicks for Stephens could be a factor, but Mateusz Gamrot, he's one of these guys that has good fight IQ. He's going to keep it long with the jab, so he's going to have success with the striking himself. He'll probably leg kick Stephens as well, and I think the main thing that he's going to be looking to do is hit that single leg takedown, control against the cage if he can't get the takedown, just try to make it a grappling fight. And I think he's probably going to be able to do that. I mean, Stephens has been fighting a lot of 145ers, obviously, for the last 9 years. And I think that Gamrot's going to feel really big, strong in that clinch. I think he's one of the better grapplers in the division. I think that single leg that he has is great timing. And if he gets on top, I see him being able to control Stephens for probably a large period of time. So for me, I do think that Stephens is a live underdog. I mean, I think that he obviously, almost against anyone, he has a chance to get that knockout. And especially against a guy that's more of a grappler, that's a little bit weary about his striking. And, Stephens definitely can do something here. But my pick, I think the logical pick is going to be Gamrot to win a pretty comprehensive decision where he uses his jab, his movement, is able to be a little bit successful in the striking. And that opens up his takedowns. He hits the single, he controls on top, and is able to just kind of use comprehensive MMA game, full game, to beat Jeremy Stephens here. And I got to go with Mateusz Gamrot. Man, the co-main event here, Marion Reneau taking on Miesha Tate. What a strange fight this is, right? I mean, we got Miesha Tate making the return to MMA for the first time in almost 5 years. She went in, had a kid, got married, and did all that good stuff, and I guess she had the hunger back to get back in the cage. I don't know if it's a monetary thing, hopefully not, but, she's back in there, and she's going to be facing Marion Reneau in her retirement fight, who Marion Reneau obviously hasn't had the most success lately. She's lost 4 in a row. She hasn't won a fight in 3 years, so it's not like the UFC is throwing Miesha Tate to the deep end. But Marion Reneau is a beast, man. Just to be able to compete with these girls at her age, 44 years old. This is a retirement fight. I think you got to give her some flowers. That's pretty commendable. I mean, she's 9-7-1 record. A lot of people could say maybe she did make a huge impact, but I think her career is memorable, and you definitely have to give her some credit. And going out fighting a legend like Miesha Tate, it's a cool way for Marion Reneau to go out in her last fight. And she's, like I said, she's still competitive out there, even with these high-level girls. She's doing well. Her boxing obviously is very good. I do think she's going to be the superior striker in this fight, but like you said, it's not like they're throwing Miesha Tate to a girl that's won 3 in a row. It's a good transition to see where Miesha's at. If she can't beat Marion Reneau, maybe this whole comeback is a little bit ill-advised. But Miesha Tate, she does look in very good shape, and obviously we know what she's going to want to do in this fight and what she does in all her fights. She's going to want to get the takedown. She's a wrestler. She's a grappler, and Marion Reneau has shown throughout her career that her takedown defense is not very good. It's improved a lot recently. You have to give her credit for that. She's actually even been hitting takedowns herself. But what she does have is a good sweep game, a good submission game from her guard, and she's been able to, hit submissions on some grapplers and, take out some girls like Sarah McMahon, people like that. So she is dangerous for a girl like Miesha Tate as well. I mean, there's not a lot of analysis I can really give for this fight. I think on the feet, Reneau is going to be faster. I think she's going to have probably, the better footwork, faster hand speed. I don't know if she's going to be the faster with her feet just because of the age, man. But I think Miesha Tate is going to probably be able to hit the takedowns. And I just don't know. I mean, does Miesha Tate really want this? If she really wants it, she's been training hard. And it looks like she does, from her pictures and stuff. I think she'll be able to hit the takedowns, control on top, and probably get the victory, grind it out. The only people that have been able to submit Miesha are Amanda Nunes after really hurting her very badly in Ronda Rousey. So I don't think Marion is on that level in terms of her submission game on the Ronda Rousey level off bottom. So I feel like Miesha probably be able to go in here and get the takedowns, dog it out. But yeah, I mean, you can't have a lot of confidence in my opinion, and I feel like Marion is definitely a live underdog here in this spot, but I'm going to go with Miesha Tate just because Marion has always struggled with grapplers throughout her career. We've seen her fight older grapplers as well, like girls that haven't gotten wins in a while, like Kat Zingano, and she got taken out 6 times in that one. So I feel like Miesha, it's a good matchup for her. She'll probably be able to get it done, but it definitely is a weird fight. And in the main event here, we got the protege of Khabib, obviously. Islam Makhachev is in here as a huge favorite, minus 700 favorite. And first off, I mean, I just have to say, I mean, this is an interesting matchup. If you think about Khabib's career, not many people that he fought really were that good off of bottom. I mean, a lot of the last fighters, like the last 5-6 fighters that he fought, none of them really jiu-jitsu guys. There was a lot of strikers. So Islam Makhachev actually has been in there and kind of shown a different career path, because he's went in there, he's fought guys like Davi Ramos already, who elite level jiu-jitsu guys, and in that fight he kept it on the feet against Davi and outstruck him, and now he's fighting Thiago Moises, another black belt jiu-jitsu guy, very good off of his back. That it's going to be interesting to see how he plays it here, because I'm not sure he's going to be able to strike and have as much success striking on the feet as he did with the guy like Davi Ramos with Thiago Moises. So I feel like his wrestling is going to be more of a factor in this one. We're going to see more grappling, and it's going to be interesting for sure, because you see Islam Makhachev, in my opinion, I mean, right now the guy's probably the best takedown artist, if not one of the best takedown artists in the UFC. He has great level changes, super strong in the clinch. His trips are insane. And yeah, I mean, he can just get probably anyone in that lightweight division to the ground and really just control them pretty easily if they're not very good grapplers. I mean, there's very, very few guys in that division, in my opinion, that are going to pose a much of a threat in terms of the grappling. But with Thiago Moises, I mean, he does have to be fearful of a little bit of things. I mean, when he goes in for that single leg, he has to be careful with the guillotine of Moises. Moises has a really good guillotine. He will jump guard for it, so that's something that Islam has to be careful about. Also, when he puts Thiago Moises on his back, Moises is always looking for the arm bars, for the leg locks. He's going to be active on bottom. And Islam is going to want to try to probably avoid being in that guard as much as he can. Stay heavy in half guard. Not even try to mount. Don't try to get into positions where Moises can have some space to scramble. Just stay heavy in half guard. Work your ground and pound and, make it that type of fight, in my opinion. Because on the feet, Islam has improved quite a bit. He's a lot more fluid. He's a southpaw. He has, good straight punches, good jab, good body kicks. If you watch his fight with Davi Ramos, he was able to control the range and really beat him up pretty easily. But with Thiago Moises, we got a guy that is probably the superior striker. I mean, he has good kicks, really good low kicks, high kicks that I think he's going to be looking for. Those high kicks are going to be effective because Islam is southpaw. I also think he's going to be looking for that straight right hand. And Moises is a good counterpuncher. He's a really tight left hook. His, counter shots as Islam comes in are going to be pretty accurate. So Islam has to be very careful. And this fight, I mean, it has some wrinkles. Like I said, I feel like Moises, the one thing that I don't like about him, though, is he does back himself up to the cage. And if you saw the fight with him versus Beneil Dariush, he got controlled against the cage quite a bit. He got taken down. And if you're getting taken down by Beneil Dariush, and Islam is going to be able to take you down in those same positions, it's just if Islam has that same sort of, schooling in the jiu-jitsu game where he's not going to get caught in a leg lock and a guillotine and one of these arm bars that Thiago Moises throws up. And I do feel like Moises has great cardio, Islam has great cardio, so that's going to be on display here because I think Moises is really going to give Islam a lot to worry about with his game on bottom. He's not going to let him really settle and be super calm. But I do think after a while we're going to see Islam start to kind of, put the pressure and maybe break Moises a little bit, get him to think that, it's inevitable that he's going to lose. He's going to stop attempting as many submissions on bottom because I do think he's going to back himself up to the cage, get taken down. I don't see Islam playing this fight like he did Davi Ramos. I think he's going to look to take down Moises and control him from half guard, stay heavy on top, not really, attack a lot of submissions or go for the finish necessarily, but just do enough where you can keep the position, not have to get back up to your feet and outwork Moises. And I kind of think that's how the fight's going to go. I think Makhachev is just going to be too good for him with the takedowns, too slick, control on top and half guard, and just kind of win the fight that way. So I think Moises, he's an interesting, foil. He's a guy that has potential to win because he's a good counterpuncher and has stuff off his back. But I think Islam's going to be able to pass this test, get another win, make it 9 in a row, and probably get a top 5 opponent in his next fight. So there you have it, guys. That's the breakdown and analysis for this week's card, UFC Vegas 31, Makhachev versus Moises. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to put a like down, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. I'm going to be putting out some new content, and I'm going to be putting out these prediction videos every week, obviously. If you want to check out the Patreon, I'm going to be putting up bets for Bellator. I'm going to be doing a Bellator video. They have LFA this week that I'm going to be looking into. They also have a KSW event that I'm going to be looking into. So there's going to be a lot of betting opportunities this week along with the UFC bets, so you can get it and take advantage of a lot of content. So make sure to check that out if you want to. As far as my most confident pick goes this week, it's going to be Amanda Lemos and Francisco Figueredo. For the parlay of the week, it's going to be Miles Johns and Amanda Lemos. So there you have it, guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day.